This is the fifth video in the civil drawing. Now let's talk about putting the dimensions on here. In your textbook, there is a system for placing dimensions. And by the way, if you really don't like that the line type scale here, you can change that line type scale by selecting it, right-clicking, going to Properties, saying let's make the line type scale a little bit smaller. That way the letters will show up a little bit more often. So if you want to look like that, I just set that to 0.5. You might want to do that. You might want to leave it the way it is. But what I want to do now is put dimensions on here, and the civil dimensions are going to be put on there so that the distance is above and the bearing is below. By the way, when you do this in AutoCAD, you're going to have the numbers over here flipped. Don't worry about it. This would be more appropriate, but it's a little tricky actually to get AutoCAD to flip those for you. So we're going to have the distance above and the bearing below. And to do that, I'm going to create a dimension style based on the one that's in your textbook. And that's the civil style is in your textbook. So let's go ahead and set that up. I'll start with the standard scale. Right-click, rename, call it civil. I'm going to go over here and modify it. And under lines, I'm going to suppress dimension line 1, dimension line 2, extension line 1, and extension line 2 so that they don't have any extension lines, any dimension lines. Under symbols and arrows, I'm not doing anything. Under text, we'll go ahead and set up text, something reasonable about the, that's the Romanesque font. Height is 0, don't forget, leave it at that. Width factor in this case is 8 with an obliquing angle of 0. Set that as my current layer. Close this, come back over here. I didn't really need to set it as my current layer, just in case you're confused by that. I'm going to set the text height to 0.12, and I'm going to come down here and make my text aligned with the dimension line, but above it. Now I'll go to primary units, and I'll change the number of decimal places to 2. Since we're drawing in decimal feet, 2 decimal places is standard. And I'm going to add a little suffix to every dimension, which is the foot mark. We can't put angular dimensions in surveyor's units. It's not even listed, so we're going to have to do something a little creative for that. But right now we've got a civil plan, a civil style. Come out here, and the other thing I want to do under fit is I want to make that an annotative style. I'm going to make it annotative. Now I'm going to go ahead and place it. Before I do, I'll create a layer. So I have a layer for my dimensions. Now, our annotative scale, our viewport scale, is 1 to 50, which is going to make it our annotative scale as well. Since we've got dimensions that are annotative, make sure that's current, I'm just going to go and place a dimension. Now the kind of dimension I'm going to be using, because I want the dimension to line right up on that line, I want it to look just like that at the same angle, it's going to be an aligned dimension, not a linear dimension. DAL is the alias. You could also pick it off a toolbar. I'm not going to pick 2 points. I'm just going to press enter. I'm going to select the line itself. I'm going to pick a point on the line, and you notice it just puts the dimension directly above it. Go over here and do the same thing. Do the same thing. And I think you'd agree that that's a very fast way to do this. Here's the one place where just leave it the way it looks right there, and that'll be fine. That gives us our bearings. I'm sorry, not our bearings, but our distances. And very quickly, now I'm going to copy each one of these down below, the one that's there, and now I'm going to edit that and change it to the angle of that line. But because the angle of that line involves typing and the possibility of making an error, what I want to do is to automate it a little bit. We can't really fully automate it. I can't come up with a technique that'll automatically put that in there without writing some Lisp code. So let's just do it this way. Let's go and do a DI for distance on that line, starting at its start point. Go to its end point. When it tells you what the angle is, it'll give it to you as south 85, the letter D, because it doesn't have a degree symbol, 44 inches, 44 minutes, 51 seconds west. I'm just going to copy that from the command prompt, right-click, copy it. Now I'm going to use the edit command to change what's there, replace what's there with what I just copied, get rid of those spaces, put a %% in front of the D, since that's the code for the degree symbol. Come out here, and now I've got my direction. I go ahead and do the same thing for each one of these. I say DI. What's the distance from here to here? I go up and just highlight it, copy it, go to edit. Before I do that, I actually have to copy this down below. Now I can go ahead and edit that. Paste in what I just copied. Get rid of the spaces. Again, percent in front of the D. Get rid of that space. Come back out. And then now there's a different dimensioning system that we're going to use over here, and this is a different scale. Because it's an annotative dimension style, the annotated dimension style will come in scaled properly in either viewport based on the scale we set here. But that means it has to be a viewport scale that's from this list. It can't be a random scale. You can't just kind of zoom in and out with your mouse. So it's got to be from that list. So that's 1 to 16. I'm going to go ahead and lock that. The kind of dimensioning we're going to put over here is called Ordinate Dimensioning. And the reason we're going to do that is so that you understand how. And we'll bring that down a little bit more so we have a little bit more room, like so. Okay, so now we're going to lock that. Now I'm just going to go over here and put in one ordinate dimension using DOR and say, what if we put an ordinate dimension right there? Well, if we do that, we get 141.83 feet because an ordinate dimension is from a 0 point, and without specifying otherwise, it used the current origin as a 0 point. So that's not a very useful dimension to us. We need to reestablish that as 0. The easiest way to do an ordinate dimension is actually with the QDIM command. QDIM stands for Quick Dim. What I'm going to do is to pick my geometry here, press enter. Now I want to have an ordinate dimension placed there, a series of ordinate dimensions placed, but I want to change what's called the datum point. I want to change the 0 point. Type P, select what you want as your 0, in this case right there. Type O so that I get ordinate dimensions. Now I'm just going to come over here, left click, and you notice that those dimensions all come in. The problem is they come in different precision than what I wanted, and also there's no extension lines. Well, that's because the dimension style I set up for civil over here doesn't use dimension lines. So let's go back into our dimensions now, and under civil let's add a new dimension style, not for all dimensions but just for ordinate dimensions. Now we're going to continue. So when we do ordinate dimensions, what do we want for lines? Well, we don't want to suppress the extension lines. We want them, so we're going to clear that. The other thing is, under text, we don't want the text to go above, we want it to be centered. Under primary units, we don't want 2 decimal places, we just want 1 in this particular case. So those are my ordinate dimensions. So I close that up, I come back out, and now you'll notice that I not only have my ordinate dimensions in here properly, but they also have extension lines coming across as well. Now that goes vertically. I go back to QDIM. This time I'll pick the geometry that I want to dimension again, this and this. This time I'll come up here. Now I've got the dimensions going across horizontally, and you'll notice that all the text is the same height in both cases. And that height, this is on B-size paper, that height, just put some text right beside this, that height is 0.12, the height that I used in my dimension style.